what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while since I've streamed over here. I am currently on break at work for about an hour or so. Thought I would jump on. I hope this holds. For some reason, the wireless hotspot that I normally use is not doing very well. So I'm hopeful that the internet on my phone, which seems to be at full bars, is going to do okay. But tonight, I wanted to touch upon kind of like an end of the year update sort of thing, what I'm thinking about for 2025, and looking to get some suggestions, some good legitimate suggestions. There are people who have like specific, I think, suggestions that I don't know, I may not jive with, but we'll definitely talk about it there. Let's see here. We got Oat Lord saying, "Hey, how you doing, buddy? Long time." Shrek, his daddy, says MAGA is how we make America fun again. No, that's how we make fun of America again, is with MAGA. That's what we make fun of, is MAGA. It's one of the dumbest things ever. But hey, what do you know? We got 4 more years of it, if not longer. And listen, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything like that. It's probably going to be a fair amount longer. So, yay. Let me see. Do I have it here? I gotta look. I gotta look to see if I've got it. Maybe I can hold on. Do I've got it here? There we go. Woo! Yeah, there we go. I got the drop. All right. But then again, knowing my jokes, we get a lot of this. Yeah. Yep. Got the drops over on this particular thread. I mean, look, man, it's the whole why why am I living in the US if I hate it so much? I don't hate the United States of America, buddy. I love the United States of America. I feel that there's a particular political ideology that does nothing but spread disinformation and cause chaos in order to further their own gains of causing more division. And the ultimate idea is power and money and influence. And we are seeing that right now. And that is going to be something that is going to stress out a lot of people. And that's one of the reasons why entertainment is really going to take a real big part of the next 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to feel more isolated. People are going to feel lonelier. People are going to feel more depressed. Things aren't going to go well societally. You know what I mean? It's going to be a lot of disruption and a lot of people that are just going to come in like a carpetbagger and take what they can get. And that's one of the reasons why we got to kind of think about what we're going to do to protect ourselves in the next couple of years. And what I don't mean like, I just mean from the sake of like people getting really worked up on this stuff and then really wanting to, what's the word I want to use here? Like, like just kind of keep your mental health in check sort of thing is what I'm talking about. Ryan here says Sonic 3 is awesome. Yeah, so tonight, believe it or not, tonight I actually had like a 5-hour break and I could go see Sonic at the movie theater across the street. Well, it's about maybe like, a couple miles away. And if there was a showing at 11 o'clock, I could probably, given everything, I'm waiting for like something to do, which is why I'm only giving myself like an hour on here. I don't want to like overdo it, but I'm waiting, for that. But I have time to go watch Sonic 3 tonight if I want to. Then when that gets over, go and do my last pickup. That's how crazy things are tonight. Anyway, let's see. Spaceship Poet here says, listening while watching the original Day of the Dead, fucking fantastic film, made me want to ask, what is the best original trilogy of Dead movies? I mean, are you talking about like I don't know what trilogy you're talking about. Like, what other trilogy would there be of Dead films, right? I mean, well, you mean like Return of the Living Dead? I mean, there's 5 of those movies now. Obviously all of them are varied and they're different. One is kind of a, horror comedy. 2 is very much a horror comedy. 3 is very much a horror. The other 2 were made for the Sci-Fi Channel. If you're talking about, Romero's Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, I mean, he also went on to go do Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and Survival of the Dead. So I don't quite know what you mean by that. So the OG, but again, the OG doesn't just stop at Day of the Dead. Sure, it took him like 20 more years to continue. He didn't do anything in the 90s with that, unless I'm completely mistaken on it. But and then so no, he's done other films that are in that idea. So the OG3. Okay, well, are you saying? Hold on here. What is the best of the OG trilogy? Oh, sorry, the OG trilogy. The best is Dawn. I mean, the best is Dawn. Night of the Living Dead is an amazing film. I have the Criterion 4K of it, and it's great. That's loud. And then I think it's the original is such a great film. I also love the remake of it too. And then you got but Dawn of the Dead is so like it's filled with despair. It's filled with this like unease of like loneliness. You're watching it and you're like you feel isolated and you feel kind of trapped with the characters. The music is amazing. I would have loved like Romero to do a horror movie and like an of the Dead movie, and then have John Carpenter do the soundtrack. That would have been amazing. So there's all that. What's LMAO? What are you talking about? Let me get back to this thing here. Okay, why do I hate the mass majority of the population who voted for decency and less retardation in today's society? My guy, I don't know if you can make the argument that they voted for less retardation. Okay, Elon Musk spent 270 million of his own money, over $250 million, to help Trump buy the election. More people stayed home. That's why Trump won. It wasn't that more people voted for him because he didn't win the popular vote. It's that people stayed home. And so it's like there's again, yeah, I know you're trolling, but Jesus Christ. Anyway, Zap asking, did I see the Superman teaser? I did see the Superman teaser, and it was okay. I watched it a few more times. Every time I watch it, I get more frustrated with it. The movie feels like it's a direct sequel to The Flash, which might make sense because James Gunn called that his favorite superhero movie last year, leading up to the release of the film. I'm not knocking The Flash. I love The Flash. I do. At first, I wasn't big on it, and then I watched it a couple times and I really dug it. But it's the cinematography on Superman looks very similar to The Flash. In fact, even 4chan picked up on that and were running comparisons. So I had some issue with that. Crypto as a character concept annoys the piss out of me. It's so dumb. And I know like there's like hardcore DC nut jobs that are just like, I grew up with crypto. That's fine. But it's like, it's kind of like the Wonder Twins. In certain contexts, they work. But in a movie, they wouldn't really fly. They're all like, shape of bucket in water. It's just like, it's so dumb. It's so stupid. And the fact that the movie's got all the cameos, and I know Gunn is calling them characters, and they all have character moments, which is cool, but it's cameos, all right, and that's fine. That he's going to put them in other properties, that's okay. He's going to do it, put them in other properties, put them in other things. I think that's entirely okay. I think one of the biggest problems with that whole trailer is the fucking dog. The dog just ruins it for me. I know people are like, but the dog is great. The dog is, like largely CG. So it is what it is. It might be better in context. I'm sure it will be better in context. However, for me, I wasn't the most impressed with it. I was annoyed at the nostalgic bump with the John Williams score. The reason why that bothered me is not that I don't like the score. I do like the score. But remember, guys, Kevin Feige makes all of his directors watch Superman 78 and goes like, this is the blueprint. Okay. And then James Gunn is like, well, we're going to have to follow the blueprint because that's what he was kind of brought in to do when he, did the Guardians movies and they were a success. And I feel like everyone is just always going back to Superman 78 as like, this is the movie. This is this is where it's at. And I'm like, all right, yeah, no, I love Superman 78, but I feel like it's 50 years old almost, and it needs to stay there. We've evolved as a society. We've evolved as storytellers. You can have more to say than what Superman 78 did. But the problem though is that you've got a lot of these Gen X directors that grew up with Superman as the movie of their childhood next to Star Wars and probably Jaws and maybe Close Encounters. I don't know, that's a little heavy for kids, but like Raiders of the Lost Ark and everything like that, like they grew up with that. And I think that's why they keep going back to it. And I think all they're doing is just making these weird like copies of that movie. And it's like it's been done to death. Everyone involved with that film, for the most part, has moved on to another plane of existence. Sadly, tragically, may they rest in peace. And it's not going to like take away from Superman 78 to work on something different. Zack Snyder had something he was trying to say with Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. And audiences rejected it because nobody thought to themselves, hey, maybe we should actually like grow up and mature as these kind of content, as enjoyers of this content. It's the same argument fuckers make when they're like, Star Wars is just for kids. Like, it can be for everybody, but you can have it be mature and have mature themes and still play into the core idea of what it was, which is exactly what Man of Steel and BVS were. The idea was taking the concept of leading with cynicism and apathy, right? Leading with those kind of things, and then finding the humanity from within, and then using that as a springboard. That is Superman's purpose. Superman's purpose is to prop people up, not to be the center of attention. So it's wasteful, very wasteful, to make him the leader of a film, knowing damn well that's not where he is supposed to be. He's not, he's a cheerleader. He's a cheerleader. Give him a fucking a pair of Spanx, some pom poms, and some good makeup, and let him do rah rah shish kumbah sort of thing, and that's where he needs to be. He's a beast. He's not even a B tier at this point. He's probably like upper high C tier, lower B tier character that can be used in a support structure and to better emphasize the overall themes, right? And that's what they need to do with Superman. They don't need to make him a main character because he's not a main character. Even in BVS, he wasn't the main character. It was through the lens of Batman, and Batman did a great job. And then, but then Superman sacrificed himself in an act of selflessness that woke Batman up. And then that's what Justice League was. Okay. Taking that cynicism, that apathy, deconstructing these characters and giving them something to root for, giving them something to grow for. Superman as a whole is infallible. His entire ethos is infallibility. There's nothing about him. He's a Boy Scout. Boy Scouts are by their own definition incorruptible. Right. That's why there's that line in BVS where he says, no one stays good in this world because of how corrupt it's become. And he has to fight back against it, even though he is succumbing to it in that moment, essentially. It's the idea there that deconstruction of these heroes. If these are modern gods, think about them like as they're modern gods. Okay. They're modern gods. And they need to be deconstructed. If not, they get unholy worship, right? Or they get like unwavering holy worship. And if you look at the idiots on social media that fucking foam at the lips, both top and bottom, over Superman is like this. He doesn't kill, blah, blah, blah. It's like they don't want the character to evolve in any particular fashion. They don't want that at all. Never mind, he's got better stories when he does evolve. But because the problem with comics, and this is a problem with comics, is the canon continuity is terrible. It's fractured. It's actually meant not to invite readers in necessarily, but to give them snippets of an idea of a character arc that then gets maybe wrapped up in a few issues, and then it's done. There's no continuation. Oh, well, go read this other arc where he goes through it all over again, albeit slightly different. Reading comic books is effectively the definition of insanity. You are waiting, doing the same thing over and over and over again, and ultimately trying to expect different results. And it simply just doesn't work. That's one of the reasons why in these scenarios, it was, it was very much something that I don't know. Anyway, I'm kind of losing my place there. Random human here says people have been complaining for years about studios not being able to make a proper Superman film. But let me ask you this question: what does that even mean? Right? What does that even mean? Like what what does that mean to say a perfect Superman movie? There's so many iterations and versions of the character. What would be perfect, right? The idea of the first movie was that we got an origin story. They could build them from the ground up. And they did that, albeit they kind of deified him. Snyder leaned into that deification heavily in BVS. And again, showcasing this, and it even goes back to the portrayal of Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen about how we're happy that God is American. Effectively, it's all these ideas that just they don't really fly because the character is so one dimensional that making a quote unquote perfect film is never going to happen with everybody simply because they're not going to be able to do it. Right? They did it in '78. But they keep trying to recreate the wheel. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. You've already done it. Either continue, oh, wait, no, they did that with Superman Returns in 2006, and everyone fucking hated it. Right? I actually liked it the last time I saw it. I thought it was a lot better. Anyway. Let's see here. I like a lot of Man of Steel, but BVS and Justice League were so bad. No, they weren't. If you're watching the extended cuts of both, no, they're not. They're both fucking phenomenal. I mean, BVS. Okay, I'll grant it. The Doomsday stuff, kind of like, yeah, whatever. In the last act of the movie, but all 4 hours of Justice League are fucking fire. So I'm gonna push back on that. But I don't really want to talk entirely about about fucking what's his nuts about Man of Steel and Superman, whatever. I appreciate the conversation. I make my complaints about Superman very public and very known, and it always angers a lot of people. Apparently, there was like a group chat the other night that I was hearing about. Someone was telling me that a lot of people were really upset what I was saying about it. It's brought out some really odd people out of the woodworks to attack me for being critical of Superman's trailer. As even though I've repeatedly stated that I plan on seeing the movie opening day, I'm gonna go in and hope to be wowed. Hold on, I'm just trying to find my phone charger. It should be in here, right? I didn't leave a cable out, did I? Nope, there it is. Anyway. Both. Yes, they did make the movie good. I think you are. I think that no. I think you're wrong. But that's fine. We can disagree. We can agree to disagree. You don't have to watch those movies again. I can. I own them both on 4K. I don't have Man of Steel on 4K. I need to get Man of Steel on 4K, but I don't have that one yet. Anyway, so I was thinking about like stuff to do going in to 2025 because I will fully admit I've been neglectful of this channel a little bit. I do apologize for those who are here for like the long haul and everything else when it comes to like let's say all the Hollywood After Dark and everything else. There we go. Get in that hole. And so one of the reasons why I kind of stepped back is, and it's been almost a year. I've been trying to think of ways to like do more with this channel over the course of the past year. And one of the things with that has just been like my work schedule. You know what I mean? Like I'm at work right now, and I'm doing 10 hours tonight, 5 of which I'm sitting on my keister, having a grand old conversation with my homies over here. But the other side is I want to do more because look, as I said at the beginning of this thing, the next couple of years are going to suck, man. People are going to be more depressed. People are already depressed. And then maybe that's why Superman is going to do well. Maybe I'm just that kind of like old, curmudgeon-y, bah humbug kind of guy over that. But all I want is for just there to be like, good stories. Okay. And I'm down for that one. Did I see that Snyder cultists ran David Ayer off social media? I did. That angered me. That really did anger me. David Ayer is one of like the nicest dudes in Hollywood. He is one of the sweetest guys too. He truly loves what he does. He loves the craft. He loves the people. He loves movies. And, he understands fans want to see his cut. And he's been pushing for that cut for a while. He's been pushing for that cut for a while. And I think, people, they lack patience because they get frustrated and they get angry and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like in this particular case, they went too far. And a lot of people owe him an apology, but he's never going to get it from the people that do need to do it. They're mad that they've invested time trying to get his movie, trying to pressure the studio, pressure James Gunn to put his movie out there, to put that version of Suicide Squad out there. And Gunn said that the movie would have its time to shine. We just don't know when that is. You know what I mean? We just don't know when that is. And I don't think Gunn's a liar. I think Gunn wants to put it out there. I think Gunn wants to make it known and make it seen. But you know what? He's tasked right now with building up the new, not propping up the old. And despite what any of us may think, how we may feel, how we may react to that news, that information, and what's going, everything else, it doesn't change the fact that we are not in control. And, either, you can sit there and say, well, what if I, try to actively hurt Superman and I try to actively hurt the franchise and try to tank the movie at the box office? That will bring back Zack Snyder. They'll have to do it then. No, they won't. They'll just realize that DC isn't viable out in certain ways, outside of certain characters, which, by the way, is one of the things I've been saying. Is that Superman should not be the centerpiece. It needs to be Batman, because Batman is the most popular invisible DC character worldwide. It's the number one merch seller. His movies make the most money. I mean, there's that. And that's something we just have to, again, kind of contend with there. So I feel like the Snyder fans that are going to run David Ayer off are fucking cowards. And I think they probably need to be dragged into the street and beaten with sticks for sending that very sweet, kind, passionate filmmaker any kind of hurt in regards to negative comments and death threats. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Did I miss a tweet? Anyway, did I see your comment? I don't know if I did, Hunter. Anthony here says they need to move on. The Ayer cut ain't happening. Ain't happening anytime soon. That's for sure. I think David Ayer should just leak it. I don't even think James Gunn would care. He wouldn't be mad. I think Ayer should just leak it. Random Human asks, honestly, do people have that much invested interest in the Ayer cut? There are a number of people that do. I mean, look, man, I want to see it. Hell yeah, I love that. I like the theatrical cut. That soundtrack is fucking fire. I was listening to 21 Pilots Heathens earlier tonight, and thinking about like needing to go and like bust out the old soundtrack again. I really liked it. And I'd like to see, again, I would love to see like Will Smith come back as Deadshot. I would love that. I love those characters. I thought they worked. I liked the Suicide Squad. I think Peacemaker's fucking fire. Like, those characters are all fine. Bring them back. Give them more to do. You know. The problem though is you've got money and you've got ego and you've got everything else in the middle. They already relied too much on Batman because people like Batman. But Batman's got to be the springboard. Batman's, dude, they didn't even focus on Superman to launch the Arrowverse, right? Like it was going to be Batman, by the way. It was originally going to be a Batman series, and then they couldn't do it, so they ended up getting they started doing Arrow. All right, but like even then, it was like they still waited a long time to add in Superman, and then they ended the Arrowverse with Superman. I mean, for fuck's sake, that had 4 seasons. What, Black Lightning got 1? And they just don't know what they're doing. CJH here says his movie isn't going to get better with a different cut. Well, no, that's not true. You don't know that. I can quote somebody. You don't know. No, you don't know that because you don't know what was changed. You don't know what was added or subtracted. You don't know what is different. So you legitimately cannot, in good faith, make that argument, right? I'd like to kind of direct your attention to a 1998 movie called Payback, starring Mel Gibson. Personally, I love the theatrical cut. Then in around 2007, I think, maybe 2006, they released the director's cut of the movie with an entire different third act of that film. And I mean like a whole different fucking villain. A whole different villain in that movie. I still prefer the theatrical, but I enjoy that there's an option. Look at, I look at Joss Whedon, the Justice League versus Zack Snyder's Justice League. They use a lot of the same content, but they're just told differently. There's a lot of extra content in Zack Snyder's work, and there's extra content in Joss Whedon's work, but the bare bones aspect of both are kind of similar. However, they're just presented and told differently. One is better, far superior, and more artistic than the other. So no, you simply do not know, CJH. You do not know what is different, what has changed. It could be good, it could be bad. Have the Snyder cultists come at me recently? Yeah, some of them did. No. It wasn't. It was, well, one of them. It was so weird. Somebody, like a troll, posted the polar bear video, and then a Snyder fan who fucking hates me reposted it, and then has been like going after me. I don't know. I don't really pay attention on Twitter. So let's see here. Check out a bit of everything YouTube channel. He looks at Easter eggs in the new paper click. What? Oh yeah, the Grodd stuff. Yeah. No. He's definitely in the trailer. There's like connections already to Creature Commandos. So like he's dropping them Easter eggs to build out the world. Like he's doing that, and I ain't against it. I'm not against any of that. I'm 100% for it. Bring it on. Give me the world building. That shit gives me a chub. All right. My issue again is just has everything to do with elements of the trailer. The cinematography didn't wow me. The way that the Daily Planet looked didn't wow me. And stuff about it just didn't wow me. It feels very bland in comparison to what we know James Gunn can do. Am I shitting on it? No, I'm talking about my thoughts on it, Music Man. So, Music Man here says, I'm a big fan of the Halloween director's cut. Which Halloween? Are you talking Carpenter, Zombie, what was it? Greg Mottola, right? Anyway, I have not seen the Weasels episode of Creature Commando. I have seen the other 3 episodes, and I really, really like it. So, CJH here says, Snyder cult will just ask for the original ending of Wonder Woman next if they get the Ayer cut. Yeah, I want to know what is the original ending that was in the script that was co-written by Snyder. I'm kind of curious about that. I know people don't like. I know people get real mad when you make the joke that it seems like Zack Snyder co-directed or shadow directed Wonder Woman. because they think you're being sexist. But if you look at Wonder Woman 1984 and then you look at Wonder Woman, you're like, these are so tonally different. It's like they're directed by two different people. So it kind of adds a little bit of fuel to that fire. Also, we ain't getting Wonder Woman 3. And, Patty Jenkins ain't done shit since then. She's in director jail for a while. So there's that. Oh, Carpenter's Halloween. The director's cut is very good. I've never seen the Carpenter director's cut of Halloween. I will have to watch it because I do love that movie. So there's that. All right. What I'm gonna do, and I know kind of probably who's gonna jump on in, but what I'm gonna do, if this can work, I don't know how I sound right now. I'm hoping that it sounds okay. Again, I'm on wireless internet, so if it sounds splotchy or bad, I'm sorry. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link, and I want people to come on in, and I want people to help me figure out. We'll do one at a time, but I want people to help me figure out some content to put on this channel that aren't live streams, because the live streaming, I don't have time for it to be consistent. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be nice, but I don't want to do movie news. Like, I mean, I don't mind covering a certain topic here and there. Like, like I was doing the let's talk about stuff, or kind of doing more just kind of rant form on that. But I don't have an interest in covering daily movie news. I don't want to be a John Campia. I feel that world is lost to the chuds, and that's not something I want to do. Let's see. Anaconda reboot will release December 25th, 2025. Yeah, I know. It's so weird. Jack Black, Paul Rudd. But I'm there for it. Rainbow the Gamer says I sound good. Thank you very much. We know Snyder. Okay. Oh my God, Anthony, you are still such a wet fucking blanket. You are still such a wet blanket. How have you not changed? How have you not changed? You're still fuck. Jesus Christ, man. You're gonna trigger me. That's what you want to do? You want to fucking trigger me? All right, we're gonna add CJH. What's up, man?
Okay, so you know how DVDs and Blu-rays used to have director commentaries, right?
They still do, yes.
What if you did content like that, where it's a commentary on scene by scene?
Now, okay, so I've let me tell you, sir. I tried that one time. This is back in 2010, maybe 2011. I think 2011. A friend of mine in LA and we were talking about working together on content, and he was already a full-time YouTuber. This is before he had a viral video. If you go look up, it's a Mario Justin Bieber parody. If you've ever heard or seen that one, it was a guy I knew named Anthony who directed it. We were friends. So anyway, he already kind of had an in at YouTube on how to make money, and we were talking about like doing audio commentary. It's kind of where the name Podio commentary came from, and we were talking about doing audio commentary stuff. And so we got a couple of microphones, and we sat down one day in my apartment, and we watched The Love Guru on on Netflix, and tried to provide commentary over the movie that we could then put up on a podcast, right? And yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it was fucking terrible. We were nervous. It was our first time. We hadn't established a groove, right? I get that. But it's so weird because, see, here's the thing for me, man. If I haven't seen the movie CJH, I want to actually watch the movie before I do commentary on it. And then, but doing the long form commentary is, again, something I don't think a lot of people will listen to. I really don't. I think it's I think that's definitely something.
That's or
well, I mean, if you could point me to, like, let's say an example of someone who does it. Well, yeah, it could be a niche, but it's like, let me ask you this: if you were to do it, what particular perspective would you do it from?
Maybe behind the scenes, maybe stuff that you know about a certain movie. Like, for example, A New Hope. People would be like, "Oh, well, George Lucas had to do this and that to actually get the project done," and I mean, and he even suffered stress, so he ended up having a heart attack or something, and stuff like that. And then Mark Hamill getting in the accent stuff. You know what I mean? Just little behind the scenes where it's like, oh, I didn't know that about that movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, no, I mean that's interesting, but again, it's like you'd have to have while
Or
you're
like
talking about the
movie
what.
fanboys.
Well, the movie. I mean, and I love the movie Fanboys. I like the fact that they got Ethan Suplee to play Harry Knowles before Harry Knowles got canceled. You know, and we follow each other on Twitter, but he's left Twitter. He's now on Threads, I think. But anyway, he's now like a either like a school theater director or like a community theater director now in like some small Texas town. That's the
Yeah.
guy who ran the most like notorious movie news website on the goddamn planet. Stuff that literally changed the game for how fans covered media is now relegated to directing community theater in Texas.
Yeah.
It's crazy the
Because
world we live in.
there's lots of movies out there that had tons of drama behind the scenes, and then they're really good movies. Citizen Kane, The
No,
Shining.
sure. But see, the thing is though, are you talking about like watching the movie and then just talking along with the film?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that kind
Would
of what
you listen?
commentary is? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
used to.
no. I mean,
So
that's what
I used
audio
to listen to
commentary is.
stuff
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
but again, in
I
many
the
instances. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
oh sorry. One of the reasons why I defend the Amazing Spider-Man two a lot is because after I watched it, I listened to the director's cut or director's commentary of it, and it gave me a whole different perspective on the movie.
And that's good, and that's really good. I
Yeah,
mean, I think part of it is I agree with. I see. I get what you're trying to say.
yeah,
In many ways, by doing like so when I first started doing patio commentary, did you ever? I don't think I knew you back then, but like the first couple episodes were actually essays, right? They
yeah,
were essays. I wrote them. Like I just wasn't like, oh, I'm going to throw it into AI and blah blah. No, I
yeah,
legitimately sat down and I wrote the story of an essay form of how that came about, and
yeah,
like I did one on the Halo movie, and I would make comments in there about how Microsoft had so many demands because they had big dick energy, right? And like that's the
yeah,
and then I would record. I was recording it. Now the thing with that is that I showed it to some people that I know and they liked it. But then one of the complaints I got was, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like I'm reading. It doesn't sound like it's natural.
yeah.
And that was something that I thought about as well. Cause it's like, being prepared and making it sound natural is difficult to do. It's a skill set. So
Well, what? Oh, sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
So what I've heard is, well, some people they write it out, but then they do a bullet form of this is the topics that, or this is the points I'm going to make during this whole natural
Yeah.
conversation type thing. You know what I mean?
I tend to do that now. Like I've got so many like dossiers on films that I've written out that I just haven't gone and done the recording on. I actually did an entire audio commentary on the Creator last year. I just never published it. Right? I don't know why.
No.
I love doing it. Like I really do. Um, I don't know. I look at it as more of like it would be interesting to approach it from the perspective of like maybe something along the lines of like 25 to 40 minutes, something people can listen to on the commute to work if they want to, or put on in the background rather than have like, a 2 hour, whatever, running commentary. Cause there's going to be a lot of dead air and I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan of dead air. So, in my brain, I'm going to be going like, oh shit. I like the idea though. I mean, I do need to get back into that because there are a lot of pieces of information you can get. And now, I mean, Chat GPT has a search function, which is fantastic for asking questions about, about like how a film was made and then being able to ask follow-up questions and then kind of having it provide you with all the sources.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff you got to parse out because it's, you know, um, not all of it's factual, I should say, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I feel that might be might be better, and that's something that I do want to do. I wouldn't mind also doing like maybe a full every once in a while doing like maybe a full length thing, but I feel like if I was going to do something like that, what I would like to do maybe instead, how about this? Because I've been kind of pitching the idea to myself. Is do you ever watch Tubi?
Yeah, I used to. Yeah.
Yeah, like Tubi's great, and guess what? It's got free content, and we all can watch it.
Yeah.
Right. Part of the problem that I think stems from people who do this kind of stuff is that either you've got to go and talk about things that are like either brand spanking new, which is difficult to do if you work a full-time job.
Yeah.
And then
nostalgia too.
People of what?
People love nostalgia as well. They love to look back at things.
Yeah. Oh no, they very much do. And then you could also sit there and then go and, talk about like older movies as well. But there's also a lot of the genre stuff, right? Horror, thrillers, superhero movies, classic action films. These are things that have been talked to death, right? Like go out, look up like Die Hard retrospective or something like that. How many people are going to have videos about like how great Die Hard is? I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's fucking best action movie ever made.
But
have you ever
how many
seen?
People are? How many people are talking about like the old raunchy comedies, like Super Bad?
That would be something because they did just release what was it? I think it's Universal just released American Pie in 4K.
Yeah.
And that's one of the last great raunchy comedies for I guess you could say teens and shit. Even though it's 25 years old, if you can believe it. Holy crap. I feel so damn old.
They tried bringing back that genre with that Jennifer Lawrence movie, but it didn't really push the needle.
That one it didn't move the needle as much. Like it's still, I mean, like it did well financially. Anyone But You, R-rated comedy. Sydney Sweeney, Glenn Powell. I mean, really funny. But that was from Will Gluck, who directed Easy A, and so he understood the assignment for how to do comedy. And I think like, we get stuff like Good Boys, which I think Seth Rogen produced, and then you had Strays, which came out last year, and that one has got Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart, or no, Jamie Foxx. And it looked dumb, right? The trailer looked okay, but then I saw that it was from the same people behind Cocaine Bear, and Cocaine Bear was such a goddamn disappointment that I didn't bother to go watch Strays until my own mother recommended it to me. And then I watched it one night and it laughed my fucking dick off.
We also need this was big in the 90s where they had the practical effects, like stop motion or like miniatures, whatnot, with the live action, like Small Soldiers, Gremlins, stuff like that. We need that genre to come back.
Well, you say that and you mentioned that, but did you know the connection?
Oh, the what's his name?
Joe Dante directed both.
Joe Dante, yeah.
So it's like, Joe Dante's great.
Thing, But who did Jingle All the Way too? We need movies like that too. You know what I mean? Just
well, I'll say, good. I'd say good family Christmas films everyone can enjoy.
Yeah, and also
have you seen
Arnold needs to come back.
He's working on something right now. He's playing Santa Claus, I think, in something right now. Like they're filming it right now. So I mean,
comedy?
I don't know. I love it though.
Yeah.
Hold on. Nerdrotic loves Superman reboot trailer. He said Hollywood save Superman. I don't
political to like and not like.
Yeah.
That's gonna be their new thing.
I don't know. I feel like those movies, those would be good. But going back to the idea there, it's like, let me ask you this then. who, like, outside of the immediate group of people that we all know, who do you watch that talks about entertainment on YouTube?
So I used to watch this channel. They kind of changed their ways. I don't know if their content changed or pretty much it. Have you ever heard of them?
No, I haven't.
They used to do the commentary and whatnot. I'm looking at their channel now. Their content has changed and way a lot more than how they used to be when I was watching it. But they used to have like uh the director or movie commentary and whatnot, and they were really good at it. But yeah, at a certain point they stopped doing stuff like that. But yeah, that is the first channel that comes to mind when I
Well,
think.
what are they doing now?
Just a typical the YouTube. Let me see. Uh, yeah, a lot of clickbait stuff, but mainly movie clickbait. Like
Okay.
I'd
Like
never
what?
seen this
Like is it?
emotional before. This season took my breath away. Stuff like that.
Oh God, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Like, even if I feel like that, even if I feel that, like, legitimately, like, in the cockles of my heart, when when I'm watching something, I'm just like, God, I hate those emotionally
Yeah, they
manipulative
definitely went
thumbnails.
downhill.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, is that's the whole element of it, is that this is what this is what people think the platform wants, right? Because that's
The
what the
good thing is
platform.
the good thing now is YouTube's cracking down on that.
Well, I mean, only in India, which that's where they're starting it right
Yeah.
now, is on India, and they're starting it. And look, here's the thing: is I don't know if they're going to be able to. People think that it's going to, like, stop fake trailers, but if something is as marketed and very clearly marked as fake or AI created, it might get around that, right? For fake
Yeah.
trailers. Or what about people go, oh, but what about, like, the Fandom Menace? What about Nerdrotic and Tyrone Magnus and whatnot? I mean, it's like, again, we have no way of knowing if it's going to actually, if they're going to cut down on someone's personal opinion, despite how bad that opinion might be, if they're going to do it. And they're probably going to cut out some of the worst type stuff, you know, but they're not going to sit there and go, like, oh, well, no, the Rings of Power isn't woke. This is clearly misinformation,
Yeah.
because it's his opinion that it's woke, even though it's, he's pushing bullshit. But that's unfortunately the other side of having, the First Amendment.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, how Tyrone Magnus used to be before he fell off too. Um, there was a whole like the OG movie commentary community before all the mainstream John Campia type stuff. You know,
Well, the thing with, like, the OG stuff, I can't speak to a lot of it, because when I was living in LA, even when before
oh, you broke up.
I'm sitting there going, like, man, I'm going to use this place to post stuff that I make, that can be seen and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, later on, I never thought about trying to make content to make money, really, until 2012.
Yeah,
And so it's kind of like, and that's been now 12 years. It's crazy to think about all how things have changed and shit. And now, what my approach, I should say, I cut out. Yeah. Is it better now? Does it still sound bad? Is it okay
oh
sounding?
no, it's fine. It was only brief. Yeah.
Okay. I was, the work phone I put on, Wi-Fi. I turned it into a hotspot. Just want to make sure, So
I'm
anyway,
sure. I'm sure a lot of people probably miss that old school YouTube feeling as well. You know what I mean? I'm sure
I what
there's
I
a
yeah, I
market
mean,
for it.
like, I get. I think what it is like, and I'll be honest, like the way that my approach to this has always kind of been like, you could argue yeah, I've never maybe been able to actually accomplish it, but my approach has always kind of been like, I want to be more professional. I want to be seen as professional. And even though being professional largely comes across as being inauthentic, right? Because you put on this air about you, you put on this idea about you, and you try to make it whatever. And really, people just want to know what you really think about something, right? And so when it comes to movies, it's like, you get people that are just like, I don't personally understand how anyone can listen to Mahler and think that what they're getting has nutritional value, right? It's the same thing with like CinemaSins. It's just petty nitpicking in many ways. And
Cinema
oftentimes,
scenes used to be good.
yeah, I mean, I've watched a few of their videos and I was like, okay, it's like, haha, I get the joke. And then after a while, you're like, oh, well, this is maybe like not great. But, like there's this other nitpicks, because filmmaking is a process, and a lot of these guys have never actually like picked up a camera, picked up a pen, and done anything, right? Like there's so much that
Yeah.
goes into this kind of stuff, and sometimes certain things works and it doesn't work. Like Marion, what was it? Coulthard, whatever. She played Talia al Ghul in The Dark Knight Rises. Recently, she had come out talking about, she was asked about the movie, about her death scene in the movie, and then she was like, "Yeah, I was a bit surprised that was the take they used."
Yeah.
Indicating that like she thought that there were better takes of her death rather than that really kind of over the top cartoony one. And so, that happens. Choices are made, and then choices have to be, dealt with, right? Consequences
Well,
come from that.
I suggested for that. I think because that's the whole scene, that sequence of the bomb going off. Didn't Nolan time it exactly for the timer?
I don't know. I've only seen The Dark Knight Rises one time, and I honestly have never really had the desire to go back.
Because
Um,
I know that Nolan is very particular about details like that
I'm sure he
for the
was. I'm
most
sure he
part.
did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
So
But
maybe
there's
that
so
was
many.
only cut of that scene that fit.
Maybe, maybe. Um, I'm sure someone would have to ask him that one day. Like, hey, Nolan, why did you use like the worst take ever for Talia al Ghul's death? And if he's like, it timed up with the bomb exploding, like, okay, all right, there we go, folks. Like, that would
Yeah.
that would be epic. I'm not gonna lie, that would actually be pretty epic.
Yeah. Have you thought about doing something like Watch Mojo does?
Oh
Or is
well,
Watch Mojo kind of just taking the monopoly of that?
okay. So like, I have thought about getting into lists. Um, but the lists like I want to do are like, I don't want to do like. I mean, I have nothing against Watch Mojo.
Yeah.
I will watch Mojo sometimes. I used to watch them a lot more, and then I realized that they just kind of like reuse a lot of the same stuff over and over
Yeah.
and over again. But then again, it's like when you're talking about, again, genre films, right? You're talking about genre movies. You're gonna have a lot of overlap, and that's one of the big problems with like a lot of the genre stuff on any kind of film commentary is like, you know like people are gonna be like, oh, The Thing, Night of the Living Dead, Fright Night, The Lost Boys, yada 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 yada, right? And it's like, I don't know, like, and again, like, because those movies are well known, people will probably tune in because they're well known, and so you kind of have to talk about those. But like for a while, when I was doing more of the Podio commentary, I did movies like Suitable Flesh, which is a Shudder film, I think, or Screenbox or whatever. It's a low budget Heather Graham, H.P. Lovecraft inspired, horror, body horror, body swap horror, and like got like no views on that. I talked about a movie called Frogman, which is a point of view found footage movie that I really loved. I actually watched it online, and then they had it for sale at Walmart, and I went out and I bought it. You know, I talked about. I think I talked about Strange. Did I talk about Strange Darling that just came out recently? I mean, I think I did. You know, and like again, like I think the problem is like I got to stick with that because I like watching the smaller movies because you know it is one of those things where you almost feel like you're watching something that is um more of a maybe a diamond in the rough, kind of a gem, something people, and that's one of the reasons why I like watching Tubi, because Tubi,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're going to find, right? You can look around and go like, okay, this looks interesting. A few months back, I watched Rob Zombie's 31. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what it was, you know, and I fucking love that movie. It was so over the top. It was great, you know.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, but even the year before, I watched Munsters, and it was not that. But I just feel it's like, you know, the smaller In a Violent Nature was another one. You know, like that movie was fucking killer, no pun intended. But people don't, you know, the algorithm's not going to push it because there's no marketing behind it. Another reason too is that it's like, you know, I happen to be more of a person who wants to be off camera rather than on camera, and that has more to do with just my personality and the way that I operate better. And I don't mind, you know, people like to listen as it is. But, you know, again, one of the things that I did that I and it's hard to kind of stay with it. That's my biggest issue, which is why like it'd be helpful if people would kind of hold my feet to the fire on a few things because I kind of go with that.
Yeah.
Because it's like I have so much going on. Like I'm scaling. I'm not doing the true crime stuff anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm just not doing that. I don't have the time to really invest into it. And it's just it's a lot of stuff like, you know, I just would rather not have that fill my brain right now.
Have you
One of
thought
the
about
things
like cloning your voice and doing it that way? Or
I
no?
have cloned my voice through 11 Labs. It doesn't sound as good.
Yeah.
It really doesn't sound as good. I don't quite know like what it would be. I mean, it's not meant to be the whole meal, right? It's meant to be like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I forgot to say this one thing.
Yeah.
But like, what is it? God damn, I lost my train of thought on that one there. What were we talking about? Which one?
Oh,
How can you
damn.
say In a Violent Nature was shit, dude? It was great.
Did you ever watch that? What was it? I just had it on my thing. Sunshine.
I own it, but I've never watched it. I know that it's
Really
on.
good.
That's a Danny Boyle movie, right? Or
Yeah,
no,
that's
Alex
Cillian Murphy,
wasn't.
Chris Evans.
Yeah, no. Alex Garland directed that one. Who wrote 28 Days Later?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it. I've never watched. I hear it's really good. Oh no, you know what I watched the other night that I would like to actually talk about is Carry On.
Oh, I've seen trailers of that. I want to see that.
I liked it a lot. It's from the director of Black Adam, but that was his last movie. But he also worked a bunch with Liam Neeson about a decade or so ago, and he did a movie with Liam Neeson called Nonstop. And Nonstop is I think about a bomb on a flight, and this one's about like kind of like some kind of terrorist device in an airport. But Nonstop is really really good, and this one is also very similar to that in themes.
Yeah, I just
Um,
put sail the high seas sites in the private chat. If
DM that to me on Twitter as well, because I might forget about it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've also been watching Original Sin, Dexter Original Sin, and I gotta say the casting is on par. I don't
Yeah,
know
I've heard
about the
that.
actual show, but the casting is
The fact that they got I saw the casting and that they got was it Christian Slater as young Harry?
See, that's the only one that I'm having a little bit of trouble wrapping my brain around. But the
Yeah, but
other
dude,
ones,
Christina Milian as La Guerta, like, dude, Christina
yeah,
Milian is
that's perfect.
fucking
Yeah.
fine. That woman is
Even the
I've
guy they got
always liked
for
that woman.
Masuka and Batista are perfect. Even Dexter, even young Dexter has like the certain mannerisms that Michael C. Hall had. That you're like, oh shit, how much did this guy study the mannerism? Like, did they get him to sit down and watch all the seasons and just catch all the little mannerisms that Dexter has?
I'm sure they did. Is this where he
Yeah.
first joins a police force?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Do you mind
obviously
spoilers?
no. I
Or
well, I might watch it at some point. So
yeah.
no,
So
I'm good.
watch New Blood before you watch this.
Is New Blood? I don't. Which one was that one? Was the where he's a lumberjack?
Yeah. That's
Isn't
like
that
a
one
sequel
shitty?
to those.
I hear it's shitty.
Um,
Like it
this
ended badly.
I don't want to spoil the new series.
Okay, yeah, don't do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I need to watch the final season of Dexter. I never watched it. I got to where LaGuerta died, and then that whole thing was like, what the fuck ending.
Yeah.
And I was moving to. We watched that like at my old apartment outside of Portland before moving into our new house, and then we just kind of got distracted. And then everyone kept telling me how bad season 8 was of Dexter. Seasons 1 through 4 are fucking phenomenal.
See, I watched the entire of the original series. I'm like, there are moments where I'm like, why does Dexter do this? You know, after saying the previous season not to do this, like the using bleach in the crime scene that would be caught. But other than that, I'm like, what's so bad about this? Why do people not like it? You know what I mean?
Dude, people are fickle, man. People are fickle.
Yeah.
That's just kind of, and then again, a lot of the people online, they look for things that make them angry because they're passionate, and then they
Yeah.
realize that the anger is what gets the most attention. So then they start finding ways to make themselves angry, and
Yeah.
that's where they end up kind of burning themselves out because what they're doing is actively looking for things to make them feel a certain way to justify being that way. Whereas I used to do that for like news back in the day, and I don't want to do that anymore. Whereas now I'm like, fucking hype me up over something, man. Like, get me going on it. I want to watch it. I want to
Yeah.
see it.
It's like how they convince themselves that something is bad when people actually like it. Like Nickelback. So many
Yeah.
people said that they hated it for no reason.
Well, people because it was like cool to hate on Nickelback.
Yeah.
Is really what people were saying. Like, it's really cool to like, it's like, oh, Nickelback is sucky, man.
Yeah.
And you're like, but
Meanwhile,
then if
they're
you,
head jamming
yeah,
in their car.
you start, all of a sudden you hear never made it as a fine man, and you're like, oh shit, son, and you like roll the window up,
Yeah.
uh, sick and tired out of sentence, whatever the hell it is. I listened to it the other day. That song came on the radio the other day, and I was fucking rocking out because you got to respect the back, But then
Yeah.
again, look, man, like it's the way that the internet operates is, people mistake anger with authenticity, and that's a big problem. Is that anger isn't authentic? It's an authentic reaction to something, but when your entire thing is being angry, it's a shtick. It's an act. It's like, look at Angry Joe, right? Like, the
Mm,
guy
mm, mm.
still has to make himself angry, and people give him shit over it. Like, I mean, he got real angry over a couple things, and when he like, that time he threw like the $7 at the webcam. I forget what it was over,
Oh,
and they're calling him like pissed off Pedro and shit. And and that was him being legitimately mad about something. But again, it's all in front of the camera. It's all for antics. And
yeah.
we absolutely reward that. People reward red letter media for just shitting on things. Right? They might have decent arguments, but you can't make that claim that they argue in good faith anymore, because it's like,
Yeah.
they're like, let's just meme on shit. Okay, well, fine, but if you're memeing on something, that's not really, again, the most like authentic approach to it. It's something that it's like, I don't like The Last Jedi, like, at all. Still, it's 7 years old now. I don't like it. I'm not going to sit there every day and go, it sucks. It's The Last Jedi.
I
Terrible.
know I had a Star Wars take that kind of rubbed certain angry Joes the wrong way. It was
Do you know I'm in? Oh,
that
what'd you do?
people hype up these Star Wars movies, and then they find out that they don't actually like them. So that's why there's a drop off in the sequels. That was my
Oh,
take.
I mean, I think people, I think if sequels effectively build off one another, they will bring in more people. It's kind of like, I mean, look at Avatar to Avatar 2, right?
Yeah,
Avatar 1, highest grossing film of all time. People thought there's no way Avatar 2 is going to make any money. And I was like
yeah,
the one asshole out here saying, no, it's going to do real well. Like, I
yeah,
don't know if it's going to do as well as the first movie, but it's going to do real well. Right. And then I was getting told constantly, like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's not going to do
yeah.
well. Fucking, it's the third highest grossing film of all time. All right. Like, it's the third. And the movie came out 2 goddamn years ago. And it's the third highest grossing film of all time. So it's like,
Do you know
don't
how
fucking
many?
bet against Cameron.
Do you know how many times I've mentioned that the Batman might be part of the DCU? And everyone was like, "No, it's not going to happen." Right? Now there's serious talks about it.
Well,
Same with like
there's
Wally
talks
West.
about Matt. See, yeah, that's the thing. Is like there's and I been saying that too. I've been saying that they should have made the Joker a prequel to the Batman, and that the Batman a prequel to Batman v Superman,
Yeah,
and that should have been the timeline. And then you preserve the timeline. Yeah, sure, it's a little bit rocky in some elements of canon, but you know what? History is not entirely all filled in.
and also
We take
Joker isn't the most reliable narrator either.
Exactly. And someone else could be inspired by him down the road and then go off and do heinous shit. You
Just
know,
like Joker too.
exactly. It can't be Rocky. Yes, it can be Rocky. It can be Rocky. If you say that this is what's canon now and then you just acknowledge it and you move forward, it's fine. People will move on. Reeves insisted, well, I understand he insisted that. And at the time, that regime being like Walter Hamada, um, who didn't want to deal with like the Snyder stuff at all, and everyone over there, like at WBD at Warner Media, they didn't want that. They wanted to, like, again, they only brought back the Snyder cut because they needed to push HBO Max, and it was actually cheaper to produce the Snyder cut than it was to actually film a whole new movie for HBO Max. And this one came with a built-in fan base that was very online and very, very, very invested. So it was a business move to do the Snyder cut, and it worked out well, in my opinion. But it cost them still about $100 million in order to do that, which is still cheaper than making a big budget superhero movie for a streaming platform. And so it's like Matt Reeves was supposed to do the Batman movie that Ben Affleck was going to be in, and then they decided to make it something different, which was a dumb idea on their part to do, to agree to. And even though the movie is wonderful and the Penguin is great, which is also a side story, my girlfriend texts me today and she goes, "Hey, can you get me a copy of the Penguin? I keep hearing I need to be told I need to watch it." And I'm all like, "Yeah, I was telling you that."
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell her about
Well, I know that retcons don't really matter because look at the X-Men movies. They're all over the place and people
yeah,
still go to them.
and they're beloved. They're
Yeah.
beloved. I mean, like, even they made a lecture cool again, right? We all forgot about the 2005 movie. But we
Yeah.
all now remember the Evanescence training sequence in the in the house, right? Like, we all go back to that with fucking fond ass memories,
Yeah.
you know.
We all didn't like Blade 3 and now you know.
No, I'm not. No, I like Blade 3.
Oh, you like Blade
I've
3?
always I prefer Blade 3 over Blade 2.
Oh wow.
I do. I think Blade 2 is a better made movie, but I think Blade 3 was like less what's the word I want to use? Like, less serious. Blade 2 was like super serial. Um, I got to watch it again. I'm sure if I watch it again, like the next time I watch it, because look, let's be fair, Blade 1 is one of the greatest superhero films of all time.
Yeah.
Blade 2, is also good. I'm not knocking it. Blade 3 is a movie that a lot of people, it had problems. But I still enjoyed it for what it was. And I don't give a shit. And then we got Blade back. Yeah, we got fucking Blade back last summer, man. Like, we got Blade, fuck yeah. Like,
Do
who
you
can be mad about that?
do you think um Whereas, you know how time kind of heals movies and people end up looking back fondly. Do you think
Yes.
the reason do you think people are looking back at Last Jedi fondly, but like are
No.
in the mindset where they're like, this is bad because, you know, X told or somebody told me that this is bad, or uh,
I
like
mean,
they
there are
don't want to
people out
change their
there.
mindset?
I think. Look, I think people. I don't see how you can change your mind on the Last Jedi, and I say that because if you look at the movie, and it's very difficult for me to look at that movie without anything but utter contempt for what could have been, because
Oh yeah.
because the movie is very well directed. It looks
I would
beautiful.
have I would have
Like,
changed one thing. I would have put more hints that Palpatine was coming back.
sure,
That's the only thing I would have changed.
I would have killed Carrie Fisher in the explosion. When
Oh yeah, yeah, that too. Yeah.
I would have had Kylo Ren complete his journey of killing his uncle, or of killing his father and his mother, and then and then go to the dark side completely, because at that point his paternal connections are gone, right? And all that's left is his uncle. And his uncle doesn't die at the end of the movie. If Luke wouldn't have
Yeah.
died at the end of that movie, it would have been fine. It wouldn't have been great,
Yeah.
but it would have been fine, because it would have at least established you have your villain and now you have your main hero coming back to fucking finish the job, right? Like, and that whole thing is now you've got Luke, who is now back open reopen the door to the Force. He has come back into the light. He understands that what he needs to do. He's got to stop his nephew, something that he helped create, because he was scared and he was foolish and he acted with impropriety in that particular moment and everything else. And he let feelings of the dark side get to him, because he's fallible. Everyone's fallible. This idea that Jedis can never be fallible is fucking retarded. It's so dumb to say that. It's all like, it's like people who think that Christians can't sin. You know what I mean? Or people
Mhm.
who think that like pastors can't fucking sin. People can sin and still do what they do. It's like the sin is like, to what is it? To err is human, I think, right?
Yeah. But you know what's
Whatever.
also that they missed out on? The whole backstory thing. They just jumped in like 30 years later. They're like, bam, this is what's happening without building
Yeah,
up that lore.
and that's why, and that's one of the reasons why. Oh, real quick, I'm sorry, I keep totally um forgetting to do this here. Brandon, fuck you, you're gone, man. I keep telling you, you're gone.
Is he back?
He was back as a movie fan. Yeah, you
Oh,
can tell that it's him. Brandon, I swear to God, dude, you said you would not come back here, and I said that I would not reach out to your mom again,
he
motherfucker.
messages other people too.
I know he does. I know he does. I've seen it. He harasses a lot of people. And the thing is that he may have had his mom. He got to his mom's cell phone and got on her account and blocked me, like a duplicitous
Wow.
little shit that he is, right? Because I reached out to his mom asking for her to be like, hey, can you talk to your son about like respecting boundaries? And then I told him about it, because I was gonna, letting him know
Yeah.
that this is a threat that's going to happen. And then he ran down, got mommy's phone, and like sent me a message back. That's totally him, because he's an idiot. And then blocked me on it. But it's all good. It's all good. Um,
What were we saying? Yeah.
yeah, it's
Last
it's
Jedi and all.
I think the thing with the Last Jedi is like that, from one had been talked to death. What came out of that
Oh yeah,
was
the lore.
the lore. If they would have like the thing with the lore of Star Wars is like, it's the same thing that Indiana Jones is currently faced with. I've said this before and I'll say this again. Star Wars and Indiana Jones both basically run off the same concept of fighting the Nazis. Okay, Indiana Jones literally, Star Wars metaphorically, right?
Yeah.
And what they need to do is they need to tell stories between 1937 and 1945, right? Or even
Uh,
1936, whatever. They need to
When's
tell the
that?
story
Like,
for Indiana
in,
Jones during World War II. They've got to,
but between which movies?
between the new game that came out is in between. It's set in 1937, so it's after Raiders but before Temple. Sorry,
Okay.
before Crusade. Temple actually
Yeah.
took place in
It's a prequel,
1935.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, I think it's really funny that there's even a reference to Temple. There's a reference to everything, even the Disney ride in Indiana Jones. And it's wonderful and it's great and I love it. But that Star Wars doesn't need to go past, like, Star Wars can tell stories of the Empire during its height. Look at Andor. Andor is peak Star Wars because it's like this is Star Wars for adults, right? Skeleton Crew is like, I hear it's really good. I'm gonna wait till it gets another episode in and then I'm gonna binge it. Um, but that
I
one
don't
is
know
like,
why they keep holding off on Darth Vader. Like, come on.
well,
Like
now the
every
well
time he shows up, the fanboys have a wet dream. You know what I mean?
well Lucas owns James Earl Jones's voice rights. He
Yeah.
sold it to them. So Darth Vader can still be around. I don't know what they're going to do, but either way,
And
they
they can
just
never mess them up either. Like,
yeah, they know that if they tell the stories between, let's say, Andor, or maybe even go further back to like Jedi Fallen Order, at like the height of the Empire's power to where Mandalorian is, that's your sweet spot. That it's about 15 years, maybe a little bit more,
yeah, I
15 to
would
20
go
years.
I would go even further and say, don't be afraid to recast the main characters, like the
No,
trilogy
well, that's yeah,
characters,
you
and
should.
do a story between Empire and Jedi.
I'd be okay with that. Well, the main characters, I mean, you couldn't do Han because Han was already in carbonite, and
Yeah, yeah.
whatever Luke went to go do more training with Yoda, and Leia was off. I think working with working with with the rebellion and maybe some Lando, whatever. But I think a big part of all that too is, yeah, you can tell those stories and they should tell those stories because that is where fans already know that things are going to be okay, but they get to see
Yeah.
more things about how things that they love came to be, right? They get those little hints, and those Easter eggs do a lot for nostalgia, and they do a lot to build the fandom, and they do a lot to show a love for the craft. The problem with Disney is they spent $4 billion on this, I mean, they spent $4 billion on Indiana Jones, Lucasfilm, LucasArts, Lucas Games, and Star Wars, and Skywalker Sound, and Industrial Light and Magic. So it's like it wasn't just $4 billion for Star Wars, but they spent a lot of money, and then they needed to make it their own thing. And then they realized, I think they realize now that they've kind of been like, "Whoopsie daisy, we fucked up."
Do you
Even
think
though
all
they've,
these announced projects are tax write-offs?
well, I mean, no, I don't think they're tax write-offs because I mean, there's going to be money spent for the development process of them. And those are, and that will be probably a write-off, but also that it's like, look at Superman Returns. The budget of Superman Returns was as high as it was because they funneled in the amount of money that they spent on developing other Superman movies before getting to that one, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they spent like, several, I think tens of millions on developing Superman movies that never came to fruition. So they kind of paid themselves back, by putting the budget, or taking the losses with that. It's a weird Hollywood. Here's the thing: we've really, and I hate to say it's like this, but we've got to stop looking at failure rates, right? And believe what we're told. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you can't look at like box office failures. They'll be like this weekend, like Sonic is $70 million, and Mufasa's like 33 million. And people are like, "Oh, Mufasa's bombing, Sonic's winning." I'm like, "Yeah, but that doesn't mean that Mufasa's not going to have legs over the course of the next week. Sonic will
Well,
definitely have legs."
that's the other thing. Like, we're in the era where, like, if it doesn't hit a billion, it's not a success. Like, look at
Well,
all your movies back in the day. Most of them, the cult classics, people loved them and they all bombed. Blade Runner was a bomb. You know what I mean?
yeah, but and so was The Thing, and The Thing now is
Yeah.
largely regarded as one of the best movies ever made. Blade Runner
Yeah.
is largely regarded as one of the best movies ever made, despite the fact that I mean, Blade Runner didn't do well. However, it did open number 2 against ET. So, and ET had been out for a little bit, but also Star Trek Wrath of Khan was also in theaters during that week too. So there was a lot that was up against it. But those movies now are like classics. The Thing is one of my all-time favorite movies. I adore that film, and I would love for them to do for Carpenter to come on in and do something with that again. I know that they've talked about Blumhouse has the book rights or the movie rights to the book From Hell, which is the expanded original book that the author had written before he died. It came out a couple years back. They found an extra 45 pages of the manuscript. It doesn't really add much to it, but they called it From Hell and they released it. And Blumhouse has the rights, and I don't know. Blumhouse is going through a thing right now. I think I don't quite know.
They also got to stop canceling shows just because it has lower viewership.
Well,
because that eventually grows. You know what I mean?
Well,
it looked interested.
Yeah, and then okay, how do I say this? Like one of the things that we have as a part of our I guess you could say our society is that we only want to back winners, right?
Yeah.
We only want to back winners. You know, a movie that's number one at the box office, it's probably going to do well in its second week because people are going to go check it out. Not every movie, some movies bomb off pretty bad depending, right? But like then you've got, movies that fail at the box office, and there's all these headlines like, this movie blew up, this bombed, this failed, it tanked, it died, it dropped, and then you're like, why would I go support that in theaters? I'll just wait for home video or wait for streaming. And then you watch it and you're like, well, fuck my ass, Shirley, that was really good.
Why didn't I pay the money to go see it?
I should have gone. Oh no, fucking Red Letter Media made fun of the movie. Whatever. And it's so, but that is how we are. And then you look at like the way that like Nerdrotic and those guys operate, and it's all like, the movie is dying and this is dying, and their headlines are all negative, and all they do is they push and push and push this idea, this agenda that everything is terrible. And if you hear it enough times, you start to believe it. And look, I know I can be a cynical fuck, don't get me wrong, but like I have firmly stood by the idea that, I don't think there are really any truly bad movies. I think every movie is subjective, but like, people are, look, again, Last Jedi, Ghostbusters 2016. I don't like either of those films. I don't want to watch them ever again, but you might like them, and we shouldn't debate that, but you can like it. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to be happy with what you fucking like, because I want you to be happy. Like, if we were happier, I make the joke about we all need to have more sex. Part of that is we just need to be happier. We need to find things that make us joyful. Okay. And we're so wrapped up in this idea about like how everything is terrible. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. Ray here brings up Terrifier 3 kicking the shit out of the Joker. And that was wild to think about as well. But that again was a movie that, like, I don't want to say nobody asked for it. I want to say like it was not the movie that they wanted. That being said, Terrifier 3 made a lot of people happy. Because
what do you think of my theory that like do you think Jurassic Park is going to beat Superman? Considering Jurassic Park is a $1 billion franchise at this point.
Jurassic Park has more $1 billion. All three Jurassic World movies cracked $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right.
Superman
Jurassic
hasn't
Park
really been relevant in a while.
No, Superman was in 2013 did over $650 million. BVS did $850 million or somewhere in there, 880, I think, maybe. I don't remember the exact number right now. Don't quote me on it. But those movies made money. And then Warner got cold fucking feet because BVS dropped off because they cut out that fucking half-hour plot. And that's a big issue. And I think Justice League, the movie, hurt the characters of Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman effectively. I think it hurt them. And I think the Zack Snyder Justice League helped restore some of that shit for people who saw it. That's why people who were adamantly against both BVS and even Justice League, the reviewers, when they saw the Snyder Cut, were like, holy shit, this was good.
Yeah.
Like they were really impressed with it. And they're like, where the fuck has this movie been? Hidden the fuck away because the corporate overlords are pussies, And so, like, that's a big, like that's part of that shit. So this movie has got to look, they're going to be using Guardians of the Galaxy all over that motherfucking marketing. You're going to
Yeah.
see it on the poster. You're going to see it
But you
on the
also gotta
trailer.
think they also have the Jurassic Park video game coming out the same month that the movie comes out.
I mean, yeah, but this is Jurassic World Rebirth. That's Jurassic Park Survival, which I did watch the
And they're
trailer
going
for.
back.
And
They're
yeah,
going back to the
well, they're
horror.
going back to Isla Nublar because it's about a woman who was left behind, with survival, and I think that's going to be pretty cool because I feel like I feel the reason people are also they're going to get mad. Why is it a woman in Jurassic Park
Yeah.
Survival? Because she's the final girl, you fucking idiot. Think of
Yeah.
Alien Isolation with Amanda Ripley fighting her way through the Sevastopol, trying to survive the fucking alien, and it's one of the better survival horror games to ever be made. And they're finally developing a sequel after a decade, probably to coincide with the next movie that comes out and shit.
I could see that happen where it's like Superman is this right wing, idea. Like you've been seeing that on Twitter too. They've been trying to push that idea. And then being like, oh, Jurassic Park is woke and blah 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 blah.
I find that to be so pedantic. It's like,
Yeah.
what is woke, right? What is DEI? These are
Yeah.
buzzwords that, like, look,
Exactly.
10 years ago, less than that, feminists were saying the same thing. Oh, it's sexist, it's misogynist, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you're killing the word. Now you got the far terminal online lefties that like everything is racist. You're killing the word. Like
Yeah.
words have meaning and you're diluting it because you want to sound smart on the
Exactly.
internet. And that's all it is it's just like, look, man, here, let me ask, CJ, like, I'm just gonna fucking ask, do you like movies?
I love movies. I've
There
been
you go.
surrounded by movies all my life. I used to rent
Exactly.
movies and
Yeah.
used to own movies. Yeah.
Right? Fucking preach it. That's my whole point, man. That's my whole point. Like, that's what I love. Right? Like tomorrow night, apparently, if my schedule holds, I'm going to be up in Everett, Washington for a couple hours waiting to go pick some people up. And there's a half price book there that I went to a couple weeks back, and they've got a decent clearance section. And I want to go hit it up right before Christmas and see if I can find any cool fucking movies. Because
Here's
like
a
that's
tip.
what I'm going to do.
Now, I don't know if you guys have this, but are you able to rent movies through the library? Like we do
Yeah.
up here?
Yes.
Yeah, because they always have good selections too. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's how I saw Clerks for the first time back in '97. It was recommended to me by a librarian when I went in there to go rent movies. It's like the thing is, unfortunately, like there's no library near my house. There's one at the mall that's about probably like 12 minutes away, but they don't have movies there. It's literally like it's just this little small place that people can go work on shit. But the other library, the better one, the one that I used to go to every morning, that's like another town over, and that's like about 18 miles from my house, like one direction. I'm like, I'm not going to drive over there, but I mean, like they got rid of all the red boxes around here, unfortunately. But I like, yeah, going to the library, renting a movie is something that I kind of want to maybe show my kids or whatever. But then again, the DVD player is in my room, and we watch Netflix and Disney Plus and everything else on the other TVs that are all digital, or I have my Plex server that we watch from. So renting movies is kind of like an odd concept for them because they have no experience with physical media. Despite the fact that like I have a shit ton of it, and they know what it is, and they know that these are dads and we don't touch dad stuff. So there's that. But like, I'm gonna teach them when they get a little bit older, like I'm gonna show them like, the DVDs and everything else. And, and they both like movies a lot. So that's pretty cool. I know my daughter wants to watch a horror movie. My 7-year-old really wants to watch Trick or Treat. And I'm like, I still think you're a little bit too young for that. Even though when I was her age, I was probably watching way worse.
Yeah. I didn't know that DVDs had rot. Apparently they can rot away.
Yeah, if they're kept in like poor conditions and everything else, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
You know,
But
eh,
that Fantastic Four is coming out too. So the
yeah.
two things, there could be either they attack the Jurassic Park and Fantastic Four because of Pedro Pascal and all that, or do you think all three movies could be bangers and bring back cinema? Like people could
Well,
go back to the
so
theater because they're
well,
used to it.
yeah. Well, okay. So, what they should do is they're going to probably end up moving Superman up. If you want my
Yeah.
honest take, they should move Superman to the third week of June and give it 2 weeks before uh, uh, Jurassic World, because
Yeah.
Jurassic World is opening on 4th of July weekend. It's opening midweek, and that's going to give it the full weekend run, right, to make a shit ton of money. And Jurassic World is big. Jurassic Park 3 came out, I want to say July of 2001. That was pretty big. That also came out right around the same time as Planet of the Apes. We had Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton one, on one screen, and we had Jurassic Park 3 on another screen. And that was actually pretty cool because I was watching those movies a bunch. I love both those
I
films.
learned something today about the Jurassic Park 3 where apparently that movie is full of deleted scenes from the books.
You know what? Like, I'd have to go and look at that because I read both Jurassic. When I was a kid, when I was 11, and Jurassic Park came out, I saw it a number of times that summer, and then I went out. I went to Barnes and Noble, and I bought the book, and I went home and I read the book over the summer, and then I remember getting Jurassic World, or sorry, The Lost World, and reading that all the way up until waiting in line to go see the midnight show, or to go see the first showing of Jurassic Park: The Lost World, when the movie came out. You know what I mean? Like, so those are definitely like huge films that have a massive legacy. And, I mean, remember, Jurassic World dethroned Avengers to in 2015 as the highest grossing film of the year. And Avengers Age of Ultron made $1 billion, and then Jurassic World just came in, like, just like kicked its ass.
And if they're going back to the horror aspect and also bringing back the original writers, and then on top of that,
Hey, they're bringing back David Kep.
Edwards,
Oh,
Gareth Edwards, he did Godzilla. You get
and he
the
also did The
scale
Creator.
of the you get the scale of the dinosaurs, how big they
I
are, and
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be more like probably more like Monsters, which was his first film, which is what got him the gig of Godzilla. Monsters is like more of a human drama with like a little bit of monster stuff in it towards like the end. You know, it was low budget as shit.
yeah.
But I still quite enjoyed it. And then of course, yeah, you know, Rogue One was amazing, even though Tony Gilroy is largely credited with making it amazing. But I really enjoyed The Creator. I thought that was really good. David Kep, Keopp. He also wrote Hook, and he wrote War of the Worlds. He writes a lot of Spielberg stuff. He's got a new it's this new movie coming out. I think it's like Black Bag, this new Soderbergh movie. I think Kep wrote the script for that. I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of the guy.
And Fantastic
Um
Four has one chance to do it right. They just have one chance, or else it's
yeah, they
over.
got one chance, and I don't even know if that chance is going to work or not. Superman also has only one shot,
Yeah.
right? Because we've seen this isn't going to be like, I don't think we're going to get a full, opening on Krypton. I mean, they're probably going to give us a recap. Let's be
Yeah.
fair. We're probably going to get like a Kate Blanchett style retelling
Do
of the birth of
do
Superman.
you think, or they'll do that whole Donner word Star Wars scroll type thing that they have in the other movies, like Superman Returns and the Donner movies?
I have a feeling it's going to be very much in line thematically with Donner, which is what Brian Singer was going for. And it's like I keep saying, again, my complaint with it is that it's like everyone doesn't want it to go past being something connected to Richard Donner. And I don't want to shit on Richard Donner under any circumstances. And I'm not going to when I say this, but it's like people that are latching onto that, I think are doing the man a disservice. It's like you're so, you want to say that you're in reverence of what he did, when in reality you're in fear of being different because you're fearful of people of not wanting that. And I don't think that's accurate. I think that again, Man of Steel, I'm going to go back to that, reinvented Superman with something to say in a world that was grounded, in a world that felt lived in, it felt real, and it felt like things were happening. And people freaked out at that because I think it challenged them. I think it challenged them to question what they knew about this character, who in their mind they have largely made a god, and that he doesn't want to be God. Christopher Reeve played it kind of just like, oh yeah, hey guys, I'm your friendly neighborhood Superman, right? Like, and that's fine, and I'm going to save the cat out the tree, oh wait, hold on, Lois is dead, I'm going to reverse the polarity of the earth and then rewind time, which is not a power that he has. And if that happened in today's movies, people would look at that and go, this is the gayest shit ever. Yeah. Right? If he, it's true though. It's true. Tell me I'm not wrong, because it's true. If he reversed polarity of the earth and went back in time that way, everyone would go, what the fuck? But it's because they saw that. We all saw it when we were kids, and it's something that stuck with us because of nostalgia, and we can't let go of it because of nostalgia. And that is something that is very much hurting, a lot of the stuff. Anyway, Parallax is talking about the last Jurassic Park movie or Jurassic World movie. Hey, joke's on you, man. I haven't seen it.
Oh, the locusts?
Yeah, I know. I heard the locusts and I'm like, what the fuck?
They had the potential of doing a really cool story where it's like post-apocalyptic dinosaur, like Planet of the Apes style thing.
Yeah.
But I guess they threw it out the window. But there was like a great idea there, and it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Okay, they're not in yet. All right, I'm just checking up because I'm like, all right. I don't know where the fuck my passengers are still in the air. There's only one Jurassic Park movie. That's not true. Jurassic Park 3 is really good. Joe Johnston did a good job.
Third one over and over again, and then that ringtone always gets me. The thing, how the Spinosaurus ate the cell phone.
Yeah,
and whenever he shows up, the ringtone plays. Like, always gets me.
I mean, like, what I like is that Joe Johnston, like, came up with Spielberg and is good friends with Spielberg, and then, like, I think he was a good person to direct it. I mean, he also directed Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he also did The Wolfman too.
Yeah, he was connected to Star Wars too, wasn't he?
I believe so.
Storyboards or something.
Yeah. He was part of that crew, So it's like I'm fine with it. Yeah, I think people are too fucking nitpicky, man. Right? Like no movie is ever gonna be like truly 10 out of 10. I mean, there's always gonna be flaws.
Deadpool and Wolverine was pretty good, and Spider-Man.
I see people fucking rag on that. Like this movie had like no point. You weren't paying attention if you think it didn't have any point. The movie's really about like redemption and finding your place and finding your family.
Were like the best experiences in the movie theaters I've had in a long time. Was No Way Home and Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, they were both fun to watch. I enjoyed them. It's funny. I saw The War of the Rohirrim the other night, and I was the only person in the theater. I
know Perp hates the idea of a Hulk versus Wolverine movie, but man, that would bring butts to the theater.
I mean, well, did you see the animated movie?
Yeah, and I've read the comics and all that.
Yeah, like, I mean, look, the thing is, Marvel is at a place where they could start like just doing these kind of like weird offshoot side films, like Hulk versus Wolverine, whatever, Hulk versus Thor
versus Hulk. That's like the
Yeah,
Savage
I mean,
Hulk
and they could
when he was on the
do
run.
that. They could do that. I don't necessarily know what purpose it would serve. Remember, you got to think that you got to remember that everything they do is meant to be in service to the larger story.
Yeah,
And the problem with that though is that like they kind of bit off more than they could chew. Um, and then they had to kind of navigate having these other characters, like the OG characters, as well as the new characters, right? And it's like, look, it's been 3 years since Shang-Chi came out and actually did pretty well box office wise. And
I love that movie.
there's no fucking there's no talk at all about a
Yeah.
Shang-Chi 2, right? We don't know where he's going to pop up again. Is it going to be Secret Wars? Is it going to be Doomsday? Like we have no fucking idea. Like Captain Marvel and shit, right? Like I don't think she's going to get a third movie, but she's definitely not going to be tossed to the wayside. Miss Marvel might get her own movie. I could see that happening. What I think they should do, I mean, really think they should do, is they should start investing 50 to 75 million in some of these smaller films and put those out there, because if you did like a 70, let's say a $65 million Miss Marvel movie, that was able to be kind of aimed for the teen audience and do well with the teen audience, and then still expand out some of the lore and everything else, that would make enough money to justify making the movie, right?
That
And that's
Marvel's movie should have never been theatrical because they introduced those characters on the small screen.
Well, but that was the point of having the characters on the small screen, was that they were supposed to introduce them on the small screen in order to put them on the big screen. The problem with that, though, is that they thought that there was an actual appetite for Captain Marvel when there really wasn't. The movies, like the movie was a slingshot effect, right? It's like if you would have taken and switched Ant-Man and the Wasp with Captain Marvel and had Captain Marvel follow Avengers Endgame, right?
Yeah.
Follow in those footsteps, or sorry, follow Infinity War. It would have made money, but it wouldn't have made a shit ton of money. It would have probably done about 400 to 500 million dollars, right? Because it would still have that Marvel bump and everything else. And then you had Ant-Man and the Wasp that came out in the end of February. Was it like 6 weeks or 8 weeks or something before the release of Endgame, when maximum Marvel hype was happening?
Yeah.
And
Black
you
Widow.
put Black Widow came out a year later. That was actually 2 years later, because it was they held off from 2020. But I mean, it's like the reason why Captain Marvel did as well as it did was because of the slingshot effect, right? It was rocketed up there because the hype for Endgame was so unbelievably high,
Yeah.
and people
You
just
teased
wanted more.
Captain Marvel at the end, and then they're like, "Oh, who's this Captain Marvel person?"
Yeah, and they could have
Yeah.
dropped that movie a couple months later, and like, oh, okay, great. Now we're playing off of that, and we're built up off of that, rather than like, who the fuck? Okay, whatever, right? We're going to get that next year, and it was. I mean, but the thing is, it doesn't matter. Captain Marvel went on to go do $1 billion, and even
Yeah.
the opening weekend domestically of Endgame, Captain Marvel was number two, right? Like Endgame was number one. Captain Marvel made $10 million that weekend because people went to go see it, either because Endgame was sold out or because they were hyped up. I don't know, but people went to go see it, and it made $10 million that weekend.
Yeah.
And and so it's like clearly there was some appetite for that film, but like it literally went nowhere once Endgame came out, right? There was just nothing
Yeah.
that held into that. And so when I think about like how they want to do all this stuff and how they want to approach it, like if you're going to do like doing the shows on Disney Plus, I think is a bad idea. I think doing movies or doing special presentations like Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of Galaxy, holiday special,
Yeah. I thought
that would be
Moon
your.
Knight was good too.
Moon Knight was good, but it could have also probably been cut down or really fucking expanded. But it
Yeah.
probably just needed to be cut down into a movie and have it actually be as violent as Kevin Feige fucking promised, which it
Yeah.
wasn't, you know. and that's a big thing to consider here is that all these movies, this is what they need to do in order to kind of build out, which is one of the reasons why, believe it or not, I'm actually like not as interested in the big, like I'm gonna go see them, but I'm not sitting there like losing any sleep over hype, right? You give me that
Yeah.
fucking trailer for Avatar, Fire and Ash, and yeah, oh yeah, I'm all down for that, baby. But there's
That's where I'm like, you make a Hulk versus Wolverine movie, and you said it before Incredible Hulk, where he's on the run. He's Thunderbolt Ross, which would be now played by Harrison Ford, would be chasing after the Hulk, who's also in Canada now.
yeah, but
Because they teased
remember,
that.
we don't have a Wolverine in our universe.
Well, that's where the whole merging the universes would be, where Wolverine has always been in the MCU after Secret Wars, right? You'd
I mean,
have,
well,
yeah,
yeah, but you can't go back and like you can't go back. That's the whole problem. Is you're just not able to go backwards. You have to be moving forward. It's one of the problems that even that the DCU is going to face when it comes to like integrating a Batman into the movie, right? Like they're going to have to figure out like or into the DCU. Which I think we are going to see Batman and Superman. I think we are.
I don't
I think
think
he's going
it'll
to have a
be
cameo.
Pattinson though. I think that movie will be canon. I think it'll probably be an older version of Pattinson.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's like I'm saying after the success of Penguin and the fact that the Batman was wildly successful, more successful than anything outside of Aquaman, you know, and Aquaman was largely, I think China really helped get that over 1 billion. I mean, Aquaman 2 crashed and burned, The Flash crashed and burned, Shazam crashed and burned, Blue Beetle crashed and burned. I
but
mean, like
that's
all
the
of
thing.
DC had 4 movies last year, and all were failures.
They really need to. I know The Rock tried to bring it back, but like
I
there
kind of
needs
wish
to
he
be
was
faith in
successful.
DC. Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of wish that when, the thing is though, look, when I don't think David Zaslav could have told James Gunn to to hold
they
out. You know
could
what
have
I mean?
made it work. They
Yeah, but I mean I don't think I think they could have, but I don't think Zaslav cares.
yeah,
I think he needed someone to run it. And he doesn't look, Zaslav doesn't care about artistic integrity. He doesn't care
yeah,
about continuous storytelling. He cares about whether or not something is going to have receipts. There's a reason why Gunn is already talking about, well, if Superman doesn't do well, then I don't know what we're going to do. Right. Like
yeah.
he's already priming the pump for in case this movie doesn't perform. And whatever. Now look, and then they're saying, "Oh, but it got like, all these millions of views across all social media." And it's like, okay, but that doesn't, I mean, the Twitter algorithm for viewing content is like it watches it for like a second, I think,
Yeah, and they
before it
already
gives it.
talked about Wally West in the DCU, so I wonder if they'll just maybe say that the Barry from the Snyder universe died or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like, um the Flash was a good movie. I like the Flash. I
Yeah,
really like the Flash. I've watched it multiple times. I really
I
enjoy it.
was surprised how good it was.
At first I went in and I was a bit apprehensive against it. I'll be honest
Yeah,
with you, because like obviously you had Ben Affleck and you had Wonder Woman and you had Jeremy Irons and everything else and Aquaman at the end, and it was like it felt like like we'd already gotten the Snyder cut, and it's like, come on guys, this just feels like it's mean. And then you had like the Gal Gadot cameo at the end of Shazam, and then it's
yeah.
like this kind of feels like, come on, guys, this kind of feels like it's a little bit mean. It's like, what are we going to get out of this? And then I was also Ezra Miller, just doesn't really wow me all the time. And then I was waiting for Batman. Now I will say Michael Keaton in no way did disappoint
The
at
show
all in that
Ben
movie.
Affleck
He was
was okay too, a little bit.
no Affleck was fine.
There was a
Affleck.
scene with kind of looks cool, but in retrospect, you're like, how did his grappling hook go through those pillars in the road?
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
It's very strong stuff. But again, it's like, you know, you look at the Flash and the cinematography of the Flash and the cinematography of Superman are very similar. Done by the same guy. It felt very similar as I'm watching the trailer, and I'm like, okay, I don't quite
Oh,
know
it's
if this
by
is
the
gonna,
same guy, yeah.
same guy. But that same guy also did Guardians 2, Guardians 3, and the Suicide Squad. So it's like, the fuck, I don't get it. I don't know what's going on with that. Whatever. I'm gonna wait to reserve true judgment.
I think it was meant to be a tax write-off, and then they're like, just release it, be done with it.
What the Flash?
Yeah.
I mean, the Batman. I tell you this. I think the cancellation of Batgirl. I think that hurt the Flash.
Yeah.
I think because we were basically being told Michael Keaton is back. We're getting more Michael Keaton Batman. They shot another movie with Michael Keaton Batman. God, wouldn't that be great? You know, and then they just didn't do it because like they got, you know, because Zaslav, like, you know, whatever, man, money's always, you know, the motivator and all this shit. And so
Warner Brothers is very skittish.
well, they don't have the money to like not be. They got to play their games. They got to do it. They got to do it in a way that's gonna fucking, you know, work, right? So if they don't have the cash on hand to make it, it's one of the reasons why. Look, Zaslav just sold like Warner Brothers Discovery stock. There's a high probability that, like, you know, he's gonna divest Discovery from Warner Brothers when he can, when it becomes able to do so, which I think is next year. And then he'll probably sell it off to somebody who wants to buy it. He's just going to hopefully be able to make as much money on the way out.
Do you think James Gunn could be their bargaining chip if, say, Superman does well, and then they're like,
yeah,
but not well enough that they're like,
I mean,
we gotta sell it off to somebody, but James Gunn, here's here's the bargaining chip. You can use James Gunn.
Well, I think it's, I mean, well, you know, they're going to have to be like, you know, the DC Studios is going to have to be profitable. The Harry Potter show is going to have to be something that has a lot of hype behind it. And, you know, and it's going to have to be something that a lot of people are going to be really excited for. And the whole J.K. Rowling, you know, situation doesn't really help. If they cast a black guy as Snape, I mean, God help him, God help him,
It would
God
have
help him.
been so much smarter.
And it's not that
to do an animated.
It would be, and I've said this for DC as well. It's just because it would, like, okay, and I get, like, the thing with Harry Potter is I get realizing you're not gonna top Snape's performance. I would still like it's but by to just go completely left
Adam
field.
Driver.
No, they have a no American rule. They have a no American rule.
Yeah.
So they can't do that.
I thought he was British.
No.
No?
He was in the US Marine Corps.
Oh damn.
He was a Marine. Yeah. He started doing I think USO stuff, and that's what got him into acting. He's got a TED Talk actually about it. That's really interesting. You should go check it out. But would I rather be angry side one angry or two? I don't know what that means, plushie. Like, I think, look, I'll be fair. No offense to the actor that's apparently been listed as the guy they're talking to for Snape. If I were him, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take the role because the level of vitriol you're going to get is never, ever, ever going away. Ever.
Because it was promised to be a faithful adaptation, and that was the only reason to make it. And if you're not going to go exactly by the book, then why make it?
I mean, that's because, you know, adaptations, people are like, oh, I feel a certain way about this shit. I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I could see is if Warner Brothers really wants to make the Cursed Child, and like they can't because all the actors have kind of passed away, all the older ones.
Would I rather one side be angry or two sides? I'd rather probably one side be angry. But at the same time, it's kind of like, the thing is, though, it's that, look, I believe what I as a fan of the Harry Potter books want is a faithful adaptation. I want that with casting as well. You know,
especially Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah, especially Half-Blood Prince, because that's going to be an important part of the series. Now, again, if they cast this gentleman and he's in the role, and then they got to go to the flashbacks, so the younger black actor is going to be playing him as Snape, when James Potter, a white dude, starts fucking torturing him and being mean to him and shit like that in school, right? People are going to look at that as like now it's a whole
Or
racist
racism.
connotation, right? And so that's going to add a whole other layer of conversation that's not even part of the core text. There is conversation about racism and metaphors, and analogies for racism in the franchise, in the storytelling, but just not that. And I just it's so hard to talk about, because it's like I don't. And again, my biggest thing is I don't want angry people to go after this guy or any person of color that might be offered a role that wasn't traditionally of color. The vitriol is going to be bad, right? This is not even something that's a speculative anymore. We know, hands down how bad it's going to get, especially right now with the way Twitter is. And so it's like for people.
Oh no, continue your thought. Sorry.
So
Did my
no, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Yes, Saulo. J.K. Rowling is producing the TV show. That's actually part of her agreement to allow Warner Brothers to make a TV show. Is that she has got input in a way creatively.
I did hear the Hogwarts Legacy is canon to the TV show.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. They're still in there. What the fuck? I want to go home. I've been on the clock for 8 hours now, and I've had nothing to do for like 4.
I also think that the Gollum movie that they're working on.
Yeah.
That's a decade ago.
Well, but again, the thing with all that is, the reason why Warner Brothers put the War of the Rohirrim in theaters,
Right?
yeah, is because they don't want to lose the theatrical rights. So they had to put it in theaters, even though the movie only costs like $30 million, and it's not going to make that back.
Was it
But
because of Rings of Power?
no, because of the arrangement that they made with the Tolkien estate. Right? Or maybe it's the Embracer Group now. Whoever the fuck owns the rights to that. It's so complicated now with Lord of the Rings. And so it's kind of like Sony has to make Spider-Man movies every couple years in order to keep the rights. If they don't, the rights go back to Marvel. If Sony sells, like if the company sells, like let's say Sony sells Sony Pictures. The rights for Spider-Man do not transfer over to the next owner. They go back to Marvel. They go back to Disney. So it's like they have to keep making these movies. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am mistaken on that one. I thought I might have been mistaken on that. I thought that was the deal, but maybe I'm wrong.
Didn't they lose the Hulk rights, Universal, because they didn't make
No.
one?
Universal has the Hulk rights, I think, in perpetuity. But they have the right of first refusal. So,
but they're not refusing.
They're not, no, because Marvel isn't pitching.
Yeah.
But so that's why they put the Hulk in these other movies with other characters that are ensembles where the Hulk isn't the main character.
Yeah.
Anthony here says they are in a tough spot, this meaning the Harry Potter people, because if they cast actors who look similar to the original cast, they will complain. But if they go outside the box with casting, people will complain. I think
animated.
Yeah. I feel like their best bet would be to cast appropriately, right? Look at the descriptions, cast appropriately. The thing is, though, people are going to be like, oh, like Hermione is going to have to be ugly, because in the books, Hermione was definitely not Emma Watson, but the thing is you're going to have your main characters, and your main characters are going to, are going to have to be, they're children. So I don't want to use the term attractive, but they have to be cute kids, You know what I mean? Like that's going to be the selling point that they can grow into. I mean, if you look at Daniel Radcliffe, you know, grew up, looks okay, still gets a lot of work. Emma Watson grew up, you know, looks good, gets a lot of work. Rupert Grint kind of
Is
grew
in
into a
debt
human
right
troll.
now.
Yeah, he kind of grew into a bit of a troll. You know, it's like he got the redhead curse. That's a problem.
I think in this case, I think at least they got a the Weasley father. What's his name? Arthur Weasley, because they
Yeah,
can just recast him
I wouldn't be
since he's
surprised.
in debt.
Um, Cinema Sins Hermione isn't old enough to be hot. Yeah, I know. It's again, it's that whole notion of, but it's kind of like how Hollywood, you know, like they want attractive people because people want to see what attractive people are doing. That's that, you know, and they want the kids, they want the kids to grow into attractive people, you know. That's because it's such a fucking
Because
system,
it's
man.
Hollywood.
Yeah, it's just a fucking system. I'm just not a big fan of it. But it's like I feel that, you know, they need to just like handle the casting in a way. It's also possible that they put out this article about them, you know, putting out a casting offer to this guy to gauge reaction, right? To look at it and go like, whoa, see, we can't cast anyone that looks different. You've seen how the
Yeah,
internet is, right? Like, holy shit, we don't want to do that again.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I mean, if they're already talking about how like J.K. Rowling is fine and her opinions or whatever, then clearly I don't think they're gonna do the Snape thing.
well, J.K. Rowling's opinions on trans people aside, she's actually like she's not racist as far as I understand it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, she's very like open to a lot of different things. It is possible that she would go and approve of the casting of this actor as Snape because she wants to be perceived as non-racist. You know, well, they can call me transphobic, but they can't call me racist. I mean, that's something that she could be thinking
Yeah.
about, which I think is really dumb, and I hope that's not the case. But that is something that she could be thinking about, and that would be something worth like, you know, looking into down the road. But at the same time, I'm probably going to like avoid a lot of the casting stuff. I'll know about it obviously, but I don't know. Like I don't want to put my time into like doing like, you know, Campia style news coverage or Grace style news coverage because I just don't think it really matters in the long run. You know, I feel it's like um you
Just
know,
don't
it's
leak any images from movies like Campia.
well, I mean, that actually worked out for his favor.
Yeah.
So, you know, he went from having like 3,000 daily viewers to 6,000 daily viewers for a long time. You know, he made money. He made a lot of money off of that. And
Because
then that
he
number
was
carried
right.
on for a bit. I
It
just
made
find
him credible.
Campia what?
It made him
Oh,
credible.
yeah, but it also angered a lot of people because he spoiled something he shouldn't have spoiled. You know, but then that whole argument of, well, I didn't think it was real.
Yeah.
You know, but then, well, because remember, there was also that image of Andrew Garfield on the scaffolding with the
Yeah.
green screen or with the blue screen, and then
And
like
they
somebody did a video showcasing how like they faked it, but it
yeah.
wasn't fake; it was real.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like there was so much happening at the time, and then you still had people coming off of the pandemic. So yeah, there was hype.
It was just a different time.
It
You
was, and
know,
I think
we look back at the 2020 thing as horrible, and I guess it is. People died, but we also had a fun time.
I don't know.
Good
I mean,
movies.
I worked like nonstop, so I don't know, man. Like it was fucking stressful.
Oh yeah, it definitely was stressful, but in the terms of entertainment, I meant.
Well, in the
Don't
terms
take
of
that the wrong way.
entertainment,
Yeah.
okay. All right, my people have landed. Okay, I got a few minutes left, and then I gotta have to dip. But,
Everything else was bad, but
yeah,
entertainment.
yeah. I mean, like you know, it was there's because of fewer people driving, pollution cleared up in a few places, so that was kind of nice to see. There was like dolphins cruising up like the Hudson River in New York and shit. Like, you know, so there was like, it was like almost like the wildlife was kind of taking a couple things back, which
Yeah.
is kind of cool, to be honest with you. But I mean, like, I feel, you know, going forward for like next year, you know, like I want to spend more time watching the physical media that I have. I have a lot of unopened stuff. I don't know if people would be interested in, you know, short form, just kind of give my quick thoughts on something, or more of like a 25 to 35, 40-minute patio commentary. Just kind of talking about it, which are pretty easy to do. The key is to just post it and move on, and not even like bother looking at like the view count.
Isn't 28 Days Later worth something right now? The DVD.
28 days later, well, like if you can find the Blu-ray, I guess. I saw one guy on YouTube was like, what is going for $200 on eBay, but the movie is now on digital. I have the Blu-ray of the Blu-ray 2-pack of 28 days and 28 weeks. I've got that
I would
somewhere.
cash in before they re-release it.
I'm gonna wait. Well, I would say I'd wait for 4K, but I don't think they're gonna put 28 days later on 4K. That would be unless they did a 4K scan of the Blu-ray, and because I mean, the movie was shot on like Canon GL2s, you know what I mean? So it was shot real low budget. And then if they did a 4K upscale of the original camera negative, the 35 millimeter print, like, I mean, there is no camera negative really, because, you know, like there's a master copy that I'm sure Sony has in a vault somewhere, and they could maybe do something like that. And 28 weeks later was I think shot more traditional. So I don't think we're gonna. I mean, who knows? Maybe the technology is there to be able to do that, but it's going to be an expensive transfer in order to make that work. If it can.
Yeah.
Jess, I'm still waiting for you to review anime series, and I gotta like.
Death Note. I would start with Death Note.
I'm not. No, I don't want to be depressed. God damn it! I've already seen Death Note.
Oh,
Not just I saw the Netflix movie. I've seen the live
that's
action
horrible.
movie. I've seen the live
those are
action
horrible.
Japanese movie. No, the live action Japanese one.
Oh yeah, the Japanese one is okay, but
okay, I saw that one.
Is what,
and I saw like half the anime. It was just depressing. Like that's the movie. That's a show you watch,
it's
and you're
like
just like,
it's a mystery too. It's like, oh, is he gonna get him? You know?
yeah, no. I know it's a mystery. I understand all that. I get it, but I'm just like, man, I don't know. So
talk a potato chip. That's the most action-packed version
just
of eating a potato chip.
I'll have to. I mean, like, if they decide to reboot Death Note, I could see them doing that.
A TV show.
Yeah, doing it as a movie. I mean, trying to take that original story and doing it as a movie. I could see them doing it as like a 2-part. Well, not so much Americanizing it, because what they did with the 2017 movie, I mean, their version of Americanizing that was
they wasted Willem Dafoe.
And he was the best person for Ryuk. I mean, 100%, like no questions asked. But I mean, like, again, I know Death Note fans of the anime did not care for that movie. I actually liked the 2017 movie for what it was. Not that it was great. I just enjoyed it for what it was.
If I didn't know about Death Note, yeah, I probably would enjoy it. But the fact that I know about Death Note, because it was no different than Final Destination. It was just felt like Final Destination.
Hey, oh, you think like Tony Todd should have popped up in it? I can see that. Plus, like, I live in the Northwest. Like, I live outside of Seattle. You know, and so like it being set in Seattle was kind of cool. It's climax happening at the fucking pier with the the Ferris wheel. There's a Ferris wheel here. I drive by it all the time for work.
You said you're from LA. Have you ever gone to the GTA maps? You know how there's always a meme that I don't even know a map to drive around.
Yeah. Actually, True Crime Streets of LA. I recognize some areas in that one where I knew kind of how to get around. But what's really funny is in GTA 5, there is a street that's basically Sunset Boulevard,
Yeah.
and sorry, so if the street is Sunset, and I'm driving down it, and I'm looking around, and I'm all like, wait a minute, this looks like Sunset, right? And I'm recognizing
Yeah.
certain things. And then I come around this corner and it's like there's this big building, white and blue building that's in the game.
Yeah.
And that was the building that I worked at. I worked there's an accounting firm there that I was doing temp work at back in
Yeah.
2012. And I was laughing my ass off because I'm like, holy shit, fucking that's where like I worked, right? And then like right past
Yeah.
that, the game then went and did its own thing with that area. But I was definitely yeah, I mean, you know, certain things, the Salton Sea, for example, when you go out there in the game, they definitely recreated elements of the Salton Sea. I'd been out there with some friends before. It was very similar. They did a good job recreating that. I've never been to Miami, so I have no idea how
I'm
Vice
so
City's going to
excited
play
for
out.
Yeah, I'm so excited for GTA 6.
I mean, I think it's going to be good. You
There's
know
so
what?
much
It's not going to be
potential
bad.
for Red Dead 3. Red Dead
I
3
don't
could be
I
like
don't think we're
a
gonna get Red
prequel.
Dead 3. I don't think we're gonna get it. I
You
don't
don't
see
think
us
about
getting it.
the Blackwater massacre?
I mean, it would be cool to see the Blackwater Massacre. It'd be cool to see like, you know, young Dutch
Yeah.
and you know, and young Arthur doing their thing, right? Kind of putting the band
Yeah.
together sort of thing. Um I'll tell you this though, when I was playing Red Dead 2 and we, you know, the first mission is go rescue John Marston, I'm like, you sick sons of bitches, right? Like you fucking
They knew what they
assholes.
were doing.
You fucking assholes. You're playing with my heart. You bitches. And then he's a big part of the whole game. And you're like, oh my God, I can't with this. There's little Jack, you know, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
what's up, little Jack? Like, I know what you're going to go do.
Yeah.
I mean, I could,
And,
yeah,
and then you
I
get
love this game.
attached to Arthur, and then it's like,
Uh huh.
and then you
Yeah.
get to play John Marston, and it's like, what the hell? I want to go back to Arthur Morgan.
I liked Arthur Morgan. Yeah, man. I need to play the game again. It's been a while. I've kind of forgotten like a lot of what happened in the end. I think I just kind of emotionally blocked it out. I need to go through and play it again. I might do that. Like,
Was it the good ending?
I would. Yeah, I had the deer. I had the elk, the
Yeah,
visions, not the wolf visions.
that's the best
Um,
one.
you know, so I need to go back and play that again. It's been a while. I got
Right.
you know what it is I got caught up in the multiplayer because I really like the
Yeah.
multiplayer. And so I play a lot of that. I keep hoping against hope. You know, I'm not a
Apparently it's
religious
getting
person.
worse. Apparently it's
What's up?
getting worse. Now they're being on that online version of Red Dead. They're apparently targeting different races and all that. They're
I
going
just do the
full.
bounty hunting missions on there. I just go do the bounty hunting ones, like
Yeah.
the bosses, and then that's largely what I do because it's basically just kind of like an assault mission. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then yeah, otherwise it's they never updated it. I mean, they could have given us what we all wanted, which was just like Undead Nightmare 2. And you
Yeah.
don't even need to
We
do
all wanted that.
Undead Nightmare like a story. You just need to do an Undead Nightmare like map that
Yeah.
it's all zombies and that's the only way you're able to get ammunition, and it's just like, can you survive in the world? You know, you can add fucking hunger meter. You could add like, I'm hoping somebody mods it like on PC. I would play that. They add a hunger system, a thirst system, and then like the only way to get ammo and supplies is to loot the corpses of the dead. But the only way they can die is they can be shot in the head. But if you burn their bodies, you can't get any ammo. You know,
I
so
wish
it really
Rockstar was. I wish Rockstar wasn't so lazy with like remasters because they kind of butchered the Red Dead 1 remaster and the GTA remasters.
I mean, well, isn't the Red Dead remaster
Just
that's
a
on
port.
Switch, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
port to
yeah.
the
It's
Switch,
just a
yeah.
port.
So they
It
ported it to
had
the
so much
Switch.
potential.
I know. But I have to go because I need to go pick up my last people. They just got in, so I can. I got to head over there and everything else. So thank you for hanging out, CJH. I appreciate it. And you know what? This has been fun. Again, people listening to this at home, do me a favor, type MMFA, make movies fun again, in the comment section. Like the stream. And if you're listening to this on Twitter, which I'm assuming most of you are, because there's 117 people listening, and the chat ain't fucking moving. So clearly everyone's on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter then, you bastards. So thank you. I'll talk to you guys all later. Have a good one. And no. Do it in the comment section when it's over. Thank you, though.